So this session is scheduled so people at EPEC get an opportunity to learn a bit more about what hubs we have, and then understand how we think we could use the hubs and what we wanted. We had a bit of a brainstorm earlier, what we think we want from the hubs. I'd first like to just see how many hubs we have represented here. So if you're from a hub and representing a hub, could you just put your hand up for me? Okay, so which hub are you from, for example? So I'm sorry if I should know this already. Could you tell which hub you're from?
Southeastern Europlanet Hub.
Southern Europe.
SEE.
Southeastern Europe. Okay, yep. This hub?
The French hub.
Okay. French.
I'm also
Central Europe.
Yep.
Yeah, that was also French hub. Times two French hub.
Okay.
Belgium.
Yep. Is that Benelux?
Benelux.
Yeah, that's the Benelux.
Yeah.
Oops.
We have nobody from Luxembourg and two persons you can discuss that after that. Two from the Netherlands, but were inactive.
I'm from the Netherlands.
And Benelux as well down the end.
Yeah, but
Okay, so we've got.
You're in the Netherlands.
Oh, and Portuguese, of course. Sorry, Spain and Portugal. Okay, and would you just mind that the ones of you who are here from a hub, just for the rest of us, could you just tell us very quickly your name and your role in your hub, as you understand your role at the moment? So if we go in the same way around again.
Okay. My name is Nadia Mutsurufi. I am the outreach officer of the Southeastern Hub, and since newly it was established the role of the secretary, and I was doing it for like 5 years, I'm also the secretary of the hub.
Okay, thanks.
So my name is Daniela Espadinha, and I am the EPEC officer of my hub. And well, I just recently took on the mantle, so I'm still coming to terms with the responsibilities I have.
My name is Maïli Coutelier. I was last week appointed officially as a new chair of the French hub. So for now, I'm not doing anything, but I will learn.
Thank you. You're not. You have a hub role at the moment. Do you have a role in the hub at the moment? No. Okay.
Okay, so hello everyone, I'm Andrea Opitz. I'm from the Central Europe Hub, and very soon I will speak more about it.
Okay.
I'm Susan Conway. I'm the chair of the French hub since the hubs were started.
Okay.
So we have two chairs.
Yeah. Sorry. Are you both chairs of the French hub?
You're not chair. Did you say you were chair?
So what
You're a. Oh, you're replacing me. Is that what you said?
No,
I didn't realise that.
I'm replacing Ines.
Yes, and she was outreach officer. No, early career officer. Sorry.
Okay, so I guess that's what I am.
Okay.
I'm going back I was chair of the Benelux. I'm looking for somebody to replace.
Thanks.
Early career officer of the Benelux Belgium.
Okay, great. So a couple of chairs here, and I think a few EPEC related people here as well, and a nice spread of things. What I'd now like to ask everyone to do is maybe we just go around, and if they have some slides and they haven't given them to us already, let us know. Otherwise, you can just monologue for a bit. But if you could tell us briefly about your hub, any confusions you have about your hub, and any way you've thought, exclusive of EPEC, any way you've thought of collaborating with EPEC in the past. If we go around in the same order again.
always me first. Okay.
Sorry.
This was really unprepared, but I think some of the challenges we're facing are challenges for every hub. The Southeastern Hub is really big because of
Sorry, can you say all the countries what it is involved?
Yeah, it involves. I'll start from the south: Cyprus, Greece, Bulgaria, Northern Macedonia. I don't know if anyone is from Albania, but I haven't met anyone yet. Romania, Croatia, and Serbia, and I think it's another. I'm sorry. I think that's all, or maybe also.
Did you say Bulgaria?
Yes, Bulgaria. I thought, and
Greece?
of course.
Did you say?
No, I didn't. Oh, maybe I'm so bad at geography. Anyway, so it's a huge hub, and it before the pandemic we started meeting, but of course then everything fall apart, and we are slowly starting to getting back on track. One of our thoughts is to establish working groups within the hub. So people that have specific scientific interest to get together and in smaller subgroups and know each other better. So many of our members are asking us, so what are you doing? What does a hub do? And there is no clear image in the committee's mind, no, yet in the members' minds. So we are slowly starting to carve a path that it fits the needs of such a big members, such a big country count hub. The challenge we faced is that the 1,000 euros per year discretionary fund, we didn't know how to collect it and how to distribute it. And for many years, this fund was lost. And sadly, that was because I don't know what happens with the money that are not used. And we would like to have the opportunity to fund a get-together event for all of us to meet. I mean, the hub's members to meet. But with 1 year's discretionary fund, we could not make that possible. As I mentioned in the beginning, this was not it was so unplanned, and I'm sure there are many things that are not mentioned by me yet. But later on, I may jump back in.
That's fine. I'm sure they'll come up in the discussion anyway.
Thanks.
Shall we ask who is from that hub? Like from
The chair.
If there is someone, is there anyone from this hub? No?
Yes,
This year.
Georgia.
Okay, great.
Can you put up hands if you are from the southeast?
But she's member, not a committee.
Not only member, but also. Sorry?
Do you mean members or do you mean members?
Anyone. If someone can be.
I'm from Bulgaria.
Okay, very nice. So you're actually the idea of hubs is that she's a kind of contact point for you. So there are, I don't know, in your hub, like you have national representatives.
Yes, we have a national.
So you check with
a vice chair from Bulgaria is Veneta Buneva.
Yeah.
Juneva. You know her?
I don't know her in person, but
Okay.
you don't know the name.
You can contact us directly or through Veneta.
all right.
We are,
Yeah.
we are really encouraging the communication.
Okay.
So if you have any questions about Europlanet or, for example, fundings or, oh, my professor didn't give me money to travel, can you help me? Then you can contact your national point or actually the chair or whomever from the committee. That's the idea of these hubs.
Okay. Nice to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also about hubs that you will see now from the introductions. Sorry.
Okay, nice, fine.
Taking over. So like Southeastern Hub and Central Europe Hub, we are a lot of countries. So that's very different than like France. So you will see, so we really need national contact points as well, because I can't keep in head all the system in Slovakia and Poland or wherever. Same for you, I guess. So it's if you have a national question, you go to the Bulgarian contact point. If it's about more up, if you have a question from Nigel, you don't need to write Nigel Mason or from Ankarin too. Then you don't need to write her directly. You can write to the hub leader. That's the idea.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay. Just in the interest of time, if we keep going around. So I don't know if you have a choice of which one of you wants to talk from the French hub. As you're the chair, I assume this makes more sense.
Yes, since she only came to the first meeting last week, I think less than 7 days ago, I think, understand and has been learning how to work, possibly. Yeah, so French hub is just France, and we're a bit peculiar because there's already an existing sort of structure for planetary science in France, which is called the PMP. So the hub works alongside that existing structure, which poses its challenges, but also advantages, because it means we already have an email list that's already set up that touches all the community. There's already in existence a national meeting that goes on every 4 years so far. That's going to change. There's already funding that's available via that national structure for planetary science. They have an annual call for proposals, for example. So there's a lot of things going on that we don't need to do. So that kind of makes our job easier, but it also makes Europlanet Hub invisible, because the things we do are sort of not very distinguishable from this sort of national body that already exists. That kind of gives a summary of that. What EPEC kind of things do we do? Well, we had Inez on our committee for 4 years. So we have been involved in early career via the committee's funding. We've actually sponsored some early careers stuff, like the French Society for Exobiology held a meeting last year that we co-sponsored, for example, which is supposed to have gone on the website, but obviously it hasn't yet because Inez is supposed to be looking at it. Anyway. Other than that, we would like next year, because instead of holding the meeting every 4 years, we lobbied the PMP saying that every 4 years means that if you start your PhD after the first meeting, just after the first, meeting N, you will finish your PhD before meeting N+1, which is a bit sad because that's your only opportunity to encounter the French planetary science community. So we lobbied them to say, we need to change this. We were successful, probably not because I persuaded them, but because a huge pile of money has just arrived from the government for a planetary science project which will be lasting the next 5 years. So we're able to change their minds probably with the addition of money from, not us, but from another source. So next year we'll be holding a joint meeting between the PMP, Europlanet, Exobiology Society of France, and this new project called Origins, which will be a week-long meeting, and we're hoping to ask at the next call for funding for money to support a Europlanet event, which would be an early career event that has yet to be decided what that be, but I'm going to have to decide that before the call deadline on the 13th or whenever.
Okay.
That is. That they just announced today via email, I believe, to all of the committees. If you haven't seen it, that came out today. Yeah. So I think the deadline's 13th. You said thank you. And the idea in our last meeting was it to be a kind of like careers-based event where we have quite good industry contacts with Europlanet industry, because we have Hieronymo, who is on the French hub. And so we have some quite good industry contacts, so we're hoping to exploit those industry contacts. Well, quite good. Okay, we have some industry contacts. Mm-hmm. In Europlanet, having some industry contacts is already like orders of magnitude better than other hubs. So I'll say good, but it's a relative good. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking of some kind of career type based workshop to say, look, there are many ways of doing things. There's also academia. We might have some things about that, but there's other ways as well, and we're thinking of that kind of thing. But that's we'll welcome anybody, if anybody is from France, well, or otherwise, we would welcome your feedback on whether you think that's a crazy idea or not.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks.
Really, no one is from France? Oh, that's very rare.
Yeah.
Okay, look out. And you are from France, I guess.
For how long? That is a question.
Yeah, but your heart will be in the Europlanet Hub.
Yes.
Fine. And because we don't just include people who are resident in France, but those who consider themselves as French, even if they're in a different country, either because they spent time in France or because they're French living abroad. We're totally welcoming.
Okay.
Yeah, now you can be member in 2 hubs exactly because of we are moving so much.
In fact, in as many hubs as you wish.
Technically, according to the website at least. We get the
According to the
limitation
website.
with the official Europlanet policy, but currently, from the website point of view, as many webs as you want.
We have members that are currently resident in the United States, so I think at least 3 or 4 of them. Early career as well.
Okay, so I've got a couple of questions, but I'll hold them all till the end because, like you said, there might be some overlapping things between the hubs. So if we go over to the last hub, no, sorry.
There was also
Yes,
Spain, no?
we have Spain.
Well, but I really do not have much to say because I've
Yes,
only
sorry.
just recently joined the hub and I'm not familiarized with the procedures and what's being done in the hub as I have not attended any meeting yet. So I'm very sorry I cannot tell you more about my hub, but I really can't.
It's Spain and Portugal
Spain and
together.
Portugal, yes.
Who is here from Spain and Portugal? Okay, so you contact her.
We work in the same institute.
Yeah. I was guessing. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And then if you go on, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick overview, and then we'll roll into some questions.
So we are Benelux because Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg are very small countries. There's no meaning to have a specific hub per country, and it's historical. Let's have things together. As I said, we still haven't succeeded to reach the Luxembourg community. In the Netherlands, we have some contacts. One of the problems we face in the Netherlands is that, in fact, they have their own EPEC structure, which apparently is working quite well. So they do not seem to be interested to be part of a broader network. That's what we understood. We had a discussion once with them. And so most of the activities are then in Belgium. We have an EPEC representative before Fleur, but she went to the US for a postdoc, and she was quite active, but she was also from the pole, the science pole, where we had at that time a kind of a EPEC group. So we are the same campus, 3 research institutes, with a lot of people coming from abroad. And so the EPEC group is kind of naturally evolving there. And as activities, we are supporting the soapbox initiative in Brussels. That's something that we have been doing for some years. But otherwise, I think we had the same issue that at the start we didn't really knew what to do, how to do it with the 1,000 small funding. So that's enough for the soapbox initiative, but not much more. We would like to have a kind of a meeting, not every year. That's probably too much for the small community that we have in the Benelux. And the nice thing is that we have it's in Belgium, but just at the cross of all the frontiers, we have the Rodu station, which is now an ESA recognized center for education, where we are hoping we will be able to have a kind of a meeting And as it is an education center, it should be focused on EPEC. But it's very vague.
Okay.
Voilà.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks very much.
Who is from Benelux? Okay, I'm curious. So everyone will be from my hub. May I ask you the project later? May I?
Yes, of course, go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah. As you said, we have to hurry. Yeah, it's only one slide.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there is another one, but it's not important. Okay, so again, I'm from the Central Europe Hub. So we have Poland, Czechia, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, Slovenia. So it's a very, very diverse hub. Well, probably not historically, but everything else is very, very diverse, like languages, financial structure, how rich the country is, how much science is done, how science is taught and done in these countries. So actually, I'm the chair, but I think it's very, very important in our hub, or also in the other hubs where it's a multi-country hub, that there are representatives. And we have good representatives from Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, from Hungary. Well, actually, I am also the Hungarian one. But we really, really miss is an Austrian and a Slovenian representative. Yeah, I can show we have a website, and then you can put your face. I don't know. You can see which committee members there are, but I see the screen is very small. Anyway. And this is also true for Central Europe, but also for the other hubs. You can find them on the website. So who is from these Central Europe countries? We won. Okay, can we go in around which country?
I'm from Poland.
Poland, nice.
I'm based in Austria.
So am I.
Okay, oh, very good. and there was someone else? Yes, Poland. Okay, oh, very nice, very nice. And I didn't find anyone from Slovenia among the attendees of this meeting, but I know someone in Mexico from Slovenia. So I contacted him if you know some people. But well, anyway, so then probably we can find today an Austrian representative. Well, that's and so if you have questions, then you can come to me. Yes.
Sorry, just a quick question. In terms of industry officer for the Central European Hub, we have 2 from Hungary. Would you specify which countries you would like to have?
Who's the second one?
So we have Akos Kereszturi and Algabovici. I'm sorry.
Well, actually,
actually,
Akos, here on the website, we write his policy officer.
Okay, you have Jan Sosek from the Czech Republic as a policy officer for Central Europe.
And also Akos. At least on the website, that's what we mark.
Well, okay, I didn't know there were also the list on the
Yeah, but we have one industry officer, but he's not very active. So I don't know. Probably we have to find someone.
We need to, I guess, discuss.
Yeah.
Keep us updated. Need to check.
But we have a secret agent. He's called Marcel Tesseni. From origin from Hungary. He's Marcel is the lead of industry. Sorry, and I throw back a question which is important for all of you. As hub chairs, we had up to now the problem that when you register or when you become a member at Europlanet and you click I'm in this hub, you expect that from now you will get like messages from the hubs. But we did not know that you registered. I mean, as a hub chair, I don't have the right to have your email addresses. And now I think you can say about that, that it will be solved.
So what we have now is when you register on the membership website, you have the option to choose what messages you would like to get from which hubs, from which committees. And so there are mailing. So when you do this, you add yourself to a group, of contacts, which is like pretty much a mailing list regarding this specific hub or specific committee. So, and this is something you can change at any time. But if you move from one country to the other and you are interested in the new hub, you can easily change it. If you'd like to know more, of course, come and ask us. I can show you where it is done. It's quite straightforward. When you are logged in, it's in your account part, and then it's like the second page called subscriptions. So that's something that you can do when you change or if you are interested in different hubs.
In the new site, the membership.
The membership, yes.
And I hope that you will teach us how to then.
Of course, I
yeah, because I mean, as to hub leaders or committee members. Sorry, but this is important.
Please let us know when there are changes, as said, like in the composition of the hubs. For example, Miley, right? We weren't aware of this change, so I will update the page because I do try to keep the page about committees and hub lists up to date. So please let us know.
And sorry, and this web page, is it you doing it or who's doing this one?
I have no idea. So that's on the Europlanet Society. Oh, that's on the regular website. So
Me.
Is it you?
Well, the idea is that you have the permissions and login to be able to edit the information yourself.
I have, but I never did because.
Yeah. I mean, we can.
But she left who was doing it before.
Yeah.
So. So is it you replacing her or?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so I'd suggest we spend a little bit of time now asking questions about hubs before we get on to particularly EPEC specific stuff, but this has a potential to last for a long time. So we try to limit it a little bit. Does anyone have any questions, these functional questions, for example, about the hub? So we have Jean David and Courtney from the European Science Foundation, who helped do a lot of the coordination and everything. This might be a quick opportunity for anyone to ask any questions to them or to the other hubs, or any questions anyone who's not in a hub has about what hubs are, and the hubs can answer them as best as possible. Before we move on to EPEC stuff.
Just start by the fact that one of the objectives of this week was to think about maybe adapting or changing the way the hubs are constructed, because we have seen that most of the hubs, there are issues of not knowing exactly what to do or how to contact the people, and so I think it is very important that you here give us our feeling of what we could do for you, because that's also important.
So if we want to go on to that, we can straight away. So EPEC, we came here with a similar, I say we, a lot of the people here are young people who haven't been so engaged with EPEC previously, which is actually something I will ask you later about this active group in the Netherlands. I would like to meet these people. But we came here with a similar question for EPEC ourselves. And the thing, if everyone from EPEC here doesn't mind me just summarizing very briefly what we've been discussing over the past few days. The key topics that have come up for us are a de-scope of how wide EPEC is, because there's so many working groups within EPEC. And the objective over the past few years at every annual week has been to fill this working group and that working group. And there's been blind recruiting for a working group where the chair just wants to pass it on. The working group will have the same functional problems, and this just continues year after year. There's no centralized community feel in EPEC, or there hasn't been coming up to this as much, because everyone just gets funneled into their working group, and this siloed thinking hasn't enabled like a critical mass of a community to build up, where then working groups are actually useful because people want to break off in their little groups of friends and do stuff. So our task has been to think, not how do we fill the working groups we've got with people and continue with the same dysfunctional way that we're working, but how do we use the people we've got and the interest that they have to spend the money that EPEC gets. So we try to come back at it from scratch. So the de-scope word, I think, has been a good one we've used, and it's meant we've been reset. So that's worked well for us. We also made a list earlier of things we would want from hubs as EPEC members. So I'll just quickly get that and read it out.
Oh, yeah, big one.
Well, I wrote big. So talking from my personal experience, and this is something the other guys recognise as well, having that local anchor for advice when you move to a new country is something that would be quite useful. But this again comes under the community aspect of Europlanet and EPEC as well. So in general, there's a lot of things that have come out with our EPEC sessions about more experienced researchers intimidating, not in a negative way, but because they're so distinguished, it's maybe the barrier to entry to talk to them is higher. So a lower barrier to entry in the EPEC community where you can get advice from your peers is good, and this helps foster that community feel. So
sorry, do you mean that like have an EPEC officer in the hub to be?
We'll get to that.
Sorry.
It's a good question. So community underscores a lot of what we've been talking about, because community is what's going to actually drive action in EPEC, for example, going forward from annual week. So a local anchor that doesn't necessarily have to answer scientific questions about the country. So that parallel structure you mentioned in France, is that a very formal one? So that mailing list, can you ask only formal questions to that? You can ask informal ones too.
You can't ask any questions. It's the list.
Okay.
It gets all get filtered.
Okay, because what?
It's definitely a top-down communication list, not a bottom-up.
Okay.
It's a newsletter.
It's a newsletter, yeah.
Okay, so what we would really like to be able to do is not feel, for example, when I first moved to Austria, I had a lot of difficulties with paperwork, and having a local contact who's part of a community where it doesn't feel like they can be called an officer, of course, but I don't feel like they're an officer responsible for lots of technical things, and I'm going to be troubling them with, how do I handle this paperwork? Do you have anyone in this country who's been through this process before? Because of course they will do. This is something that people thought they'd be really useful. Obviously, if hubs get really big and there's lots of contacts coming in, this won't scale particularly well, but at least as the way the hubs are now, we think this is more than achievable. One thing that was floated a few days ago, and I can't remember if it was in a side conversation, but it was maybe the ESF were looking at making maybe profile pages for each member. If this goes through and people can have like a list of tags on their page, you can put on a tag by their country or their institute as a really nice way to see who's around you. A hub could be a facilitator of that. It could also be done centrally through the website. But if I'm moving to a country and I go on the Europlanet website and I see someone in my institution's already there, of course I'm going to go knock on their office. Or even if they're in my country, I can drop them an email or ask my hub if I can connect to them. So that's something a hub can facilitate, but it ties in a little bit with potentially the pages. Another thing was the showcasing of local events. So again, being based in Austria, Bratislava is only a 50-minute train drive for me, and there's probably lots of exciting events going on here. But because I'm only subscribed to Austrian news feeds and science foundations and stuff, I only see these. This is something a hub could be really useful for me personally, because I wouldn't have to travel very far to see lots of interesting events. So that's maybe one thing. So for example, there was a conference in Slovenia I was at last week, and this was we only got told about this because it was a joint Austro-Slovenian project. But like a hub, if there was a Slovenian-centric one, I would have happily gone to it. So this was something useful. From a very specific EPEC standpoint, there was points made about if I'm applying to new labs in a new country, so if I'm even going over to France, for example, and I'm applying for a lab, I'd love to know if there's people in the lab who could give me an opinion of what it's like, if there's someone there who could show me around, if they could tell me any tips for the interviews and things like this. But this is something a hub could facilitate too, because they just need to, if it's really decentralized and each hub clearly knows who's in their committee or who's a member, they can look at who's there and sort me out, or we can do it through a centralized list and this is fine. But that's something a hub could help with. Connection with local industry was also important for a couple of reasons, similar to the one previously, that visiting labs and institutes is useful. Same with industry if I'm getting a job there. More specifically, if a hub covers academia and industry, and I already know where I want to live, and I'm fed up of hopping from postdoc to postdoc, and I finally want to settle down somewhere, if you can tell me not only what academic jobs are there, but what industry jobs are there as well for me, that would be really useful too. So that's something that came out. And the other thing was, or one of the other things was It depends on how many officers each hub has. Again, EPEC is, I think, going to benefit from trying to reduce the number of roles we have, because we're filling roles with people who don't want to do them, which isn't sustainable, or forcing them to do it. It just doesn't work. So if we reduce the number of roles, we get people who actually want to do them, which makes sense. So depending on what roles hubs have, it would be great if, for example, the industry, for example, one thing we want to do in EPEC is have industry webinars, for example, where we get a company to come in and talk to us. If we could go through the hubs and go to the industry officer of each hub and say, hey, could you point us to a new company in your somewhere represented in your hub this week? That would be great. And then the next month we'll go to the next hub. This would be a way for us to work together in us showcasing your industry and EPEC members seeing industry from around Europe. This would be quite nice. Also, for example, outreach. So with the EPEC outreach working group, assuming we keep this one going, because this is obviously outreach is important. If we're looking for outreach opportunities across Europe, this is somewhere there's a clear overlap between the hub outreach officer, assuming you have one in your hub. And if you don't, again, I still don't think this is a problem. It's more important someone actually wants to do the job. But if you have one, that our working group works with them. Why hubs? Okay, that's the last main point, I think. But our focus has been on understanding what people want to do and making roles for them. If we have to, it's not so complicated in EPEC. I don't know if it's the same with hubs. Yeah, but those are our initial thoughts on where we think the hubs could be useful for us and how we can help you as well. Do the hubs have any thoughts on that? What sounds good? What sounds bad? I'm happy to be told it all sounds rubbish.
I think personally, my view of the hubs would be a bit like what you said. Don't try to have absolutely a policy officer, an industry policy. The list is very long for each of the countries. When we are multiple countries, try to find one or two persons who are enthusiastic, active, and want to share their love for what they are doing. We've probably focus on outreach, so that's very important, and that I think the fact that we are doing that locally is the best way to have an outreach activity being working. You can't do outreach from Belgium and in Central Europe. That will never work. So for outreach, you need to be local. So
also for outreach, like in Central Europe, I think there we would need an outreach officer for every country,
yeah,
because of all the other different languages, like because outreach is a lot of times in local.
Yeah.
Because now we have 2 from Czech Republic, I think, so it's
the job.
but for policy we don't need too many. Like every country doesn't. But the country representative is important.
Yes.
And sorry for reading that, but I saw also the question, why are the hubs like defined like this? And I would also have the opinion to be more country representative should be more important, because
It's
our hubs, these huge hubs, it's not.
Just to explain, sorry, so I didn't read this one out because it was a kind of a side question, but we were just wondering why the hubs were defined the way they are in even the borders, the countries that are grouped together. We're not saying it's a problem, we were just curious.
But actually it's not a very hard border.
Okay.
It just randomly I remember for Austria, I think they didn't want to go with Germany or something like that. But it's about one person. It's not the entire population. It's just a friend of Nigel or whatever. I don't know. So, but it's history.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the hubs?
Just to comment, you said you were interested in job announcement and things like that. So until 1 year ago, we had a person looking at job announcement in academia, mostly in academia, and posting it on our website, which was not the main website. We had another one, but it takes somebody to do that.
Yeah. This is why we'd kind of mentioned the other way round, where if we have a job application, if we're making a job application to an institute within your hub, but I want to have some local knowledge on if this institute is any good, or maybe it's on a bad train connection and you wouldn't recommend commuting there or something, we would come to you to ask these questions. So it's not something you have to keep up to date, but we would just like someone to talk to. And if, even if there's no one at the institute represented in your hub, then that's fine, but it would be worth a quick question to the hubs. Yeah, it depends on how, and this is something we weren't sure of. Do you said you don't have the emails of the people in your hubs. Do you have them? Do you have like a name and affiliation for them?
I have no information.
Okay.
I don't know if someone is member, not member. Me as a hub chair, I don't have this.
Okay.
I don't know if in the future probably I will not have it. I will have just an email list. No, don't have it.
Yes, we can check exactly what those are.
I will not see who is behind this email list, or probably I can get. Yeah, it's the GDPR stuff that they don't want to give us.
I think it's because when you signed up to be a member, you didn't tick a box saying it was okay to share the information for these purposes.
Yeah, and
So
there was a
if
discussion
if that clause was there, then that information would be available to us, but it wasn't when the majority of people signed up. And so therefore we cannot see that information because we aren't allowed.
Okay, so if
So
this
in the future, yeah.
if it's something we want, then we ask for it, right? So from our perspective, this is a mechanism we would like. I mean, I say we again, summarizing still everyone's conversations from this morning. I don't know if the EPEC people want to jump in and correct me or not.
Regarding this question, like maybe not emails directly, but one of the things that we are, you have been working on is setting up the Discord for communications. That might make things a lot easier especially if people decide to play the game. I think like most people who are in our ages, I mean my age is maybe like 30 minus, will be familiar with Discord or have heard of it, maybe use it themselves every day. So I think one of the challenges would be to have it adopted by everyone, but that's an alternative to Slack. I know I've read somewhere that some agencies don't allow this kind of thing, so we'll have to see how we can get around that. But
so we also discussed the possibility of if because we know a Discord is on the horizon, so we discussed whether we think we liked the idea of a Discord. And one thing again that was mentioned is if you have a really big, for example, I'm reasonably new to Europlanet, or I'm just moving to Austria, for example, maybe I don't want to post into the Central European Hub thread where there's loads of people because I feel a bit intimidated because it's huge. If I could just go directly to the hub, if the hubs have this information, the Discord is incredibly useful from our perspective, so please don't take this as negative of Discord, but we would still, I think, benefit from, we still wanted that other mechanism to get a direct way to talk to someone by only having to talk to the hub.
but that means the advantage that you can DM people on Discord too.
Yeah, then we just DM the hub, for example, but they would still need to see the information of who's in the hub.
Within the area.
Actually, for this, we have the solution. And actually, you said that if there is a profile page for everyone, and he puts his email address there, that's an agreement. I'm in another very different club. There you can log in. So it's a protected page. So only members can log in. And there they can have all these profile pages inside. So even the profile page is protected. So we are a bit freer to give your email address, and then you can contact immediately.
This again, this solves our problem, but it just means the hubs are bypassed. So again, if I felt like I was moving to a new section of the Europlanet community in Central Europe, it might be nice that I have a face representing Central Europe that connects me with someone, because then I'm like, oh, Europlanet helps me out.
Yes, but in the profile, probably it can be that in the profile you must give some obligatory information, and then there can be a filter that you find everyone from that hub,
Yeah,
from that country.
this is possible too. It depends on what you want the role of the hubs to be. This is not for me to
Yes,
decide. Okay. Is there a hub specific session at ERIM at all?
No.
Okay. Okay. Then this is something I think for one of those, but yeah, that is something we would like, is to be able to connect it to these people. If you guys decide where you want to sit in the chain, that's fine.
Yeah, I made a Central Europe Hub session at ERIM, but I couldn't contact directly only the Central Europe Hub people to tell them that come to the session.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I had someone, a young person, contacting me directly. I think it was through the. So you have a generic email address for the committees. So each hub has such a one. Because we wanted to have some. He was not sure, but he wanted to go to work in Belgium, in one of the institutes I talk in the same campus, and he contacted me to ask, could you make me connect with somebody? So it works, but of course you need to try.
Okay.
So to send an email to you don't know really whom. But okay.
So you really have to contact.
Maybe because you have the hubs then and you have
Little.
sorry. No, it's just that we can't hear you. People online, I can't hear you. So I think for me at least, also since I'm relatively new to the Europlanet Society, and I think it's also you don't, even if you find a hub and then you see all these officers and there's not a real information about what they do, what they know, what they can do for you. So maybe even if there's a page somewhere on the website that explains what within a hub, what an industry officer does for the hub, what an early career officer does, and that then I think if you then were to search for the hub and like, oh, I'm a young researcher and I want to do my PhD in Belgium, maybe I can ask the representative, the early career representative, about that, because but if I feel like it's not even very clear to the people actually members of the Europlanet Society, so that might be even difficult for yeah. That's what I wanted to say.
Thanks.
Membership of EPEC is not based on being a member of Europlanet Society, right?
I think technically it is, isn't it? It is, yeah.
It used to be.
Yeah, it's as far as we've understood, because this came up twice or three times even this week. Yes, it is technically, but in practice, I think it was even mentioned actually by one of the previous EPEC people that they specifically don't check if you're a Europlanet member. Part of this is because to try to just get a mass of people to do stuff with EPEC.
Well, I think EPEC existed before society as well.
Yeah, as far as we understood it now anyway, you have to be a member of one to be the other. I don't know if that's actually legally. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I mean. In practice, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I just wondered if that issue had been clarified. Obviously, quite.
No, well, I think we've said no because, for example, the one that is in, you have to be a member of one to be a member of the other. Because, for example, EPEC get €1,000 budget from Europlanet, for example. So I think to be able to spend that, you should have to be a member of the society. Yeah. But people tagging onto events at the minute is still, there's not really a strong border there. Yeah. Good question, though. Any other questions for the room?
I have a open question. So there has been some discussion about descoping as well in the terms of the hubs. And we don't have all of the hubs here. For example, there is a representative from the German hub at the conference, and they basically don't do anything at all. In case you want to write that. Well, no, that's what she said. She said they haven't had any meetings. So, I mean, if you don't have any meetings and they haven't done, and she wanted to know from us what we do. She said, I don't know what we should be doing, and so we don't do anything. Okay. And obviously there's complications with the big hubs, which have lots of, and the Northern Hub as well as just coming back to life, let's say. And there are representatives here from the Northern Hub that are.
Honey was yesterday.
Yeah. There's I think there are 4 of them here, Northern Hub members. And there was ideas about descoping up to the level of not having hubs, but having early career that just has representatives across the countries, and outreach that just has members across all the countries, because they're 2 of the things that work in hubs that people actually manage to get to do stuff. And then having thematic groups. And so I had some interesting conversations last night that suggested that wasn't necessarily what everybody would like. And from the sorts of questions you're asking, it sounds like the EPEC sees a role for the hubs.
Well, we see things we want that could be fulfilled by a hub. For example,
Could they be fulfilled by something else?
well, for example, this looking for someone in an institute I'm going for a job interview at. If there's a way to search for that, if there's a mechanism for individual members to find someone who can do that, then yes, this can be done directly. If you want,
things you said actually probably could just be done directly by contacting someone from that area, right?
Yeah, but then you'd need that's where like a point of contact for that area is required.
Yeah, but as I said, so if you had the early career committee had people across all the different areas, then that would be the automatic fulfill of that.
Technically, yeah, but that's an overhead on EPEC that they can't currently take right now because they, at the minute, struggle to even hold themselves up. It's a good point, though, but I think
the hubs are also struggling to hold themselves up in terms of trying to get, because not all hubs have early career representatives. I mean, we have one, but Ines took a while to find her replacement, so.
Yeah, it's a good point. Overhead on EPEC. Yeah, no, we struggle to hold ourselves up at the moment, but the hubs, the way, and this is a personal opinion, so now everyone, I guess, say what they think, but I think what the hubs do should be born out of what's actually wanted. So
Yes,
we're just one voice in what's needed here, but we have a list of wants. We have a list of requirements of the hubs. We have a list of requirements for the website from EPEC. We have a list of requirements of ourselves from EPEC going forward now. But I don't know if these get taken and put together with all the other requirements for everyone else. Industry put theirs together, but we have ours ready to go. One thing when I was trying to get this coordinated when we first started organizing ERIM was I spent a lot of time talking with Severine, the hub coordinator. Obviously, she took maternity leave, I think. I don't know if she's, yeah. But she also spent a lot of time when I was talking to her wondering what her role as a hub coordinator was. So I don't think the hub coordinator is the golden bullet that will get everything working together.
No.
But,
and we had one before Severine as well. So.
Okay. Then this is again where I need to ask the hubs the question of, when I've got this list, who do I take it to? Do I take it to a hub coordinator? Do I take it to the ESF who pass it down to the hubs? Do you guys know the answer to that?
This is all being put into the roadmap, so this all goes to and
perfect.
We will disseminate it to the right people.
I think that so as I said, the aim of this week is really to understand what the members want, what is feasible. You can't ask, it's volunteering work for everybody. So you can't ask a person to suddenly become a secretary having half of his time just doing things for Europlanet. It won't work. That's not the way. So, but we need ideas and things that the member sees as the minimum as what the Europlanet society should provide. They are paying a fee. They are expecting things. What do we provide?
And how?
So if you
how should we be structured in order to provide those?
I think that's very good. I think most of the hubs would like to continue like hubs, but probably this.
Not all of them said that, but yeah.
Most are, but that's yeah. So we need to see.
Sorry, it's Livia, I'm online. I just wanted to say, Anne-Karine, that there is an executive board that will help you, so don't worry too much.
Yeah, I hope. But for example, the role of Séverine as a hub coordinator kind of just started because we realized that so before COVID, there had been some meetings of the hubs.
The hub chairs, yeah.
Mostly of the hub chairs.
Hub chairs plus anybody else who wanted to come in.
Obviously, it stopped, and with that, also the connections in between the hubs.
It stopped.
It stopped.
Yeah.
And so we thought, okay, let's have somebody. So I don't know if you met Séverine, but she's super active. So let's have somebody really proactive, try to reproduce this connection. But then
But last year at EPSC, it was very good that we finally met the hub chairs after several years, and we just had the same problems. So it was a nice discussion. So at least once a year we should redo this. At least the hub chairs. We had a social evening, like we went to restaurants. It was very nice, and we should also coordinate amongst the hubs. And again, for the hubs, of course, it's much better to have these multiple hubs for the management, like for the president, not to talk to 30 countries, just to 10 people. So if it were all the countries, I think that was the original idea of the hubs.
Yes, and then Séverine was invited to the executive board meeting. The idea was that this person should
contact all of us, and
then it would be the next hub, and then shifting.
It was the idea that always the chair of the but a lot of hubs don't even have a chair.
Or have a chair that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, just like me. I mean, I was during my maternity leave. I was replaced by Melinda. I think she was organizing the thing in Budapest. And when I came back as a half-time job, I was suddenly, you have to take back the chair. And of course, and again, we also had this problem that you have to understand that every hub has €1,000 to spend. So just contact your hub chair and I want this money. I think first come, first serve, and we couldn't use it either. Melinda could use it once, and then the next year, and also last year, we couldn't. So we have to kind of reanimate this hub system. And probably the discussion among the hub chairs would be the first step. And if I were you, I wouldn't make more steps, so I would send it to the 10 hub chairs.
Okay, okay.
Like, because I think the most active are still the hub chairs.
Maybe not in Germany.
There are 9 other hubs.
So I'm happy to send it to all the hub chairs. I just wonder if there is going to be a reorganization of the hubs, whether whoever's coordinating this should have this information.
Yes, for example, I didn't dare to select an EPEC officer, but if there is the request, I will put.
Okay.
I will write to all the national contacts. That's how we work. I will write to the national representatives, and they will ask them to say.
Okay.
Or if there is a volunteer for Central Europe, then we can already add.
Okay.
So it's really open.
Sorry, can I add something else? I think that this meeting this week was organized to write all together a white paper. So I think that all these questions, all these topics that you wrote down should be part of this white paper. So I think that tomorrow it will be very important to speak out your voice and point out all these points, and then I'm sure that there will be a collection of all these documents and of course, I think you will be invited in writing the white paper with the others. So don't worry about this. Who will be the first one to get the questions is not so important. I mean, they will come, they will arrive at the end in the redefinition of Europlanet.
Okay, that's good to know. Something that was just mentioned a second ago actually was the EPEC officers in the hubs. I've had a few people who are EPEC officers in the hubs come to me and wonder what they should be doing. This list of things that we really tried our best, and this was the list we could come up with things we wanted from the hubs. Are these things that an EPEC officer is needed to facilitate? Is there anything you think an EPEC officer should be doing that we didn't mention? Yeah, go ahead.
She's gonna be, oh no, what have I signed up for? So for me, because I said in France we have this peculiar situation where we have two systems running side by side, but also if we have the ambition to do anything kind of early career based, I would hope that the early career officer would be the way of communicating to the rest of EPEC, like the members of EPEC, this thing that we're doing. Like for it to be a two-way conversation, not just you guys asking things of us, but for me to be able to ask things of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Are you interested in being involved? What level of involvement? Who could be available to help out? What kind of things do you guys want us to do at this kind of event? That kind of thing. We choose to do that.
Okay, so just thinking this through, if you want some communications disseminated to EPEC, for example, if you want participants, I think the best place to go is probably the EPEC communications group, because they'll like ping stuff out on Twitter.
Which is what I would have asked her. I knew you've now answered it directly.
Okay, so see, in that case, then do we need? We can say yes, and we need an EPEC member in each hub to do. Okay. So I was going to say, do we need a directory? Does EPEC need like a user manual? So if you want something, where you go to get it, and then you don't need a person, or do you want a person to be your user manual?
I don't care. Whichever is easier for you guys.
Okay, we can think about this. We can think about how many things you might want. Okay, so that's a good thing. So what else do you think you might want from us? So communications disseminated, for example.
Well, I mean, and also there's more than communications. It's also like, okay, so you know who might be interested in French Hub stuff. It might not just be communications. It might be like, well, does anybody want to help out making a poster, or there might be some, like, if we're running an event, there might be, or we're running this outreach event in Grenoble. Are the people in EPEC in Grenoble?
Okay, so the EPEC officer would be the coordinator of EPEC participants and helpers at your event.
Yeah, I mean, and what level or negotiating what level that would be, for example. I mean, do we have enough people to actually be able to help out with this, or do I need to make an open call, or helping out with any kind of event where there's an interest for EPEC members, basically.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm not expecting, like, I'm not saying this is just suggestions. Don't panic. And I say this to all the committee members. This is at the level of implication that they want, and I would also say that to EPEC as a general committee. This would be at the level that is manageable and doable in the timescales. Obviously, I'm not going to say in 3 days' time we have this massive event. I need 70 people to come. I wouldn't be doing that. But I'm just trying to say that I think it's useful to have an exchange, because EPEC has has way bigger body, 50%, wasn't it, early career, but it was in Europlanet or something like that. So that's a huge amount of the membership is actually early career. So
okay, I ask specifically about the wording because I've been asked the question so many times what an EPEC officer in a hub will do. So if I can say you'll coordinate the attendees and participants and the helpers for an event, then that's a great tagline for me to actually answer that question with. Like a coordinator of EPEC participants when hubs want them, or when they can
or
help
even
hubs.
Suggesting things. It can be two ways. It could be also from you guys saying, well, we should, we're lacking a careers type thing, or whatever. We're lacking something at EPEC, and you have EPEC week and whatever. But then that's not necessarily as approachable as it could be, because it's not in the language that everyone speaks. Maybe there's things where people want to take, like master's students, for example, want to present their work in their own language, or things like that. That could be, or they want to know about industries in their area. I mean, because some things vary enormously from area to area, and it may be bottom up, in that EPEC come to us saying, look, we really think there's a need for a French event on this kind of thing. How can the hub, the senior scientists, actually do something? Who do we ask for money? Can we ask the French Society of blah? Is there a different grant scheme you guys know about? Yeah, I see it as a two-way thing.
Okay.
So events that you guys want to arrange that maybe you can't because you don't have enough people from that area, or inversely, things that we're thinking we might want to do as a hub that you guys might be able to help out with. I mean, I'm naming sort of early career type things and outreach type things because they're the two things that seem to happen the most in Europlanet, but it could be something else as well.
Okay, perfect. Could I just go over to our guinea pig in EPEC officer? Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, sure, but then also because right now I don't have a lot of connection to EPEC because that but that sounds good. Like I also already thought that I think they discussed to make a document for funding opportunities, but also per country. And I think that would be an example of what you could then ask the representative EPEC officer, because they would know more about the funding opportunities in their own country.
Mm-hmm.
Like just as an example. But yeah,
Okay.
that gives me at least a lot more clarity on what
The other side asks.
sorry.
Meeting.
Okay,
We are old here.
okay, I say okay. Thank you. I think that gives me a lot more clarity about what I'm supposed to and what I can do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I said it a bit longer, but
Hey, that's good. Okay. Any of the things from EPEC members in the room about things that haven't been mentioned that they might want from an EPEC hub? From a Europlanet hub.
I have one question actually, out of curiosity. Is there anyone among the board members who is coordinating regional hubs, or so to say overseeing activities, what they do or do not?
So that was the idea, to have this hubs coordinator being part of the executive board. Otherwise, each hub needs to send a quarterly report. No, it has been a 6 months because we are a bit far behind, but we are supposed to send activity reports regularly to the executive board, mention what has been done in the hubs, how
what wants to be done. It's both past and future.
Yes.
It's also what is going to be done and what we might need them to give us.
Yes. So so it's supervised. I would not say it's controlled.
No, I've never been told off.
No.
But of course, I'm not talking about someone who regional hubs are reporting to. So I'm just
that's what we're doing. We're reporting to the executive committee.
Wondering.
Okay.
We write, so the main way of doing this is writing the report to the executive board, and the executive board, I don't know what they do with them. Maybe they probably go, oh, that's nice. Or, I don't know what they do with them.
Actually, hang on. That question, that was brought up by Severine, passed that question to me from a hub that had said the same thing. And did I ask the ESF for the answer? There is an answer to that question, and something is done with it. The hub reports, what they're actually used for.
What happens with the report?
So that's one of the issues. That's
okay.
many issues. The reports are read by the member of the executive board just to see if
they're very short. Don't worry, they're not like, it's not like I certainly don't.
Because there is one section in this report which is, do you have problems to report or
questions?
Wishes, how to improve? And each time we look at them, but it's always the same problem. That's a recurring problem. What can we do with the money we have? We have too few funding. We can't do anything with it. How do we find members willing to help us? In this country, we can't find nobody. It's recurring. It's really always the same issue.
But do you answer these questions?
Yes, I've had replies.
I don't know, because
I've had replies to my questions. Anyway, So,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know.
So I don't know if that's a universal answer, but whenever I've asked a question, it's been answered.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, here is somebody from this country, because I don't ask that, 'cause it's France, obviously. But the tractable, I mean, I never put down, we don't have enough money, because I mean, that's just, I might as well just be,
That's not true.
I mean, well, also, they can't do anything about it.
So each hub received this very small amount, which everyone agrees is not enough, but you can apply for funding. I think France has
We have applied quite a lot of times, yeah. Not always successfully. But
we have applied also to have an outreach activity paid, which is so above the 1,000.
It's up to 3,500 euro. You can apply.
Up to
for.
5,000?
Even 5,000.
Yeah.
It just has to go through a hub or a committee. So
EPEC can do the same.
Ask us things.
And I'll be ticking the EPEC collaborative box on my when I put my proposal in.
And then in the report, you are supposed to give a little report on what you did with the money you received.
Okay.
So one issue I would say with those reports is that it's sent to the executive boards, it's placed somewhere on the SharePoint managed by the ESF, and then it disappeared.
Well, it doesn't disappear, it just stays there.
It stays there, but the members
can't see that. Yeah.
Can't see that. Yeah. And that's a problem, I think. So we should have a way to extract.
I lose the password for that site more times than I could ever count.
Yeah, so that's something that we discussed with Courtney. But those reports should be available for members so that they can see what we are doing with their money.
I might phrase my report slightly differently.
Not the entire.
Not the quarterly report. Okay, fine, good.
Probably there could be a public part and report and.
Okay. Okay, and digital infrastructure just came up there and has come up in our conversations as well. If, for example, you're doing an event in your French hub, and you want the EPEC coordinator or the EPEC officer, what are they called? The EPEC officer, early careers officer, the early careers officer, to get EPEC people to help out with the event.
Yeah, I've never done this yet, but yeah.
Oh, so let's say that's the new scope of the early careers officer, because they need something. Do they need to be able to search, and this is an open question to the group, do they need to be able to search through a list of EPEC members themselves? Do we in EPEC, do we need a way to know who's in which hub? Because at the minute, we have no way of knowing this.
But I think the Discord will serve this problem. Like you ask an open question, like who can I be on this project, and people can.
I agree. I just think about scalability when we have more people in, because the EPEC Slack, for example, is at least until reasonably recently quite active, because it's quite a lot of people on it, and at some point I think those requests might get a bit much for people who find them not relevant to them. So being able to be targeted might be more useful.
Maybe a solution is to get each EPEC also get the access to the email.
The EPEC coordinator potentially maybe needs access to this. Is this possible? Okay.
And I just wanted to add that I also think it would help if EPEC itself was more centralized, because I think right now, if I was asked to do something by the hub for EPEC, I would have no idea how to get that done. Yes, but I think that would also help.
Yep, totally.
And as a chair, I'd be okay if you said that to me. I tried to help, but.
Okay. Are you taking actions for ESF on this? I can also write them down. Okay. So.
Can I just ask a question? In terms of EPEC currently chair and co-chair, who are they? Are you the chair?
No. Just so you understand the dire straits of EPEC at the moment, I'm not. We have 2 co-chairs who are not here, and an incoming one who is busy this week with other things. So no, I'm trying to fill the gap. as best I can.
You look very
Guy,
convincing. Take it. So.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the thumb and the hole in the bow. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to fill in as best I can.
Yeah, I will try to
You're doing
contact
a good
the EPEC and the hubs very soon. I think to make sure that we have up-to-date lists of who is who.
Sorry. Yeah. And that's my fault.
No, that's just that we try to kind of get things as soon as possible because I think our predecessor at ESF, some information has not been passed properly.
So this information, the changes get passed in the reports that I will pass to the committee, to the board. But because we've been searching for someone to look after the website, these changes have not been reflected on the website because I'm still waiting to find someone to do it. So if anybody wants to do website stuff for French Hub, even if they're not French, it's fine. Or involved in French, or just anything, that's fine.
Okay.
There's probably one tiny thing that you might be also curious why we are the chairs, like you have never seen an election or whatever, and we wanted to have these committees to be elected, but for the moment, as you see in a lot of hubs, that we are lacking even volunteers to be. That's why we are still. Also in Central Europe Hub, we tried to find a chair because I was off for a few years. And we didn't find any volunteers. So it's not because we are fighting to be chairs, but it's really,
it's not they're trying to run out the room.
Yeah.
So certainly if I mention it on my committee who wants to take over from me as chair, that they all go very quiet.
Yeah, there is a very nice scene in the Jungle Book when the elephants are in a row, and then I want to volunteer. Everyone steps back, just one is eating and is sleeping, and then he's the volunteer. So it's a bit like that for the moment. And also Benelux will need a new chair because Ankarin is flying higher. Yeah, and also I wouldn't like to quit this room before finding an Austrian representative. Either you next to Ankarin, you are from Austria, or James,
So
someone has to take the role.
You just need to step backwards as fast as you can.
So you have to fight for it, or we can make an election.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we have enough volunteers, then we can make an election. But I think until we have only one volunteer, there is no point. I mean, it's ridiculous to make an election for one person.
Yeah, except that it gives the signal that it's not held by people who want to keep their power. So we are there, as you said, because we accepted at the start, because we were convinced of the thing that now we are stuck.
Yeah.
And we would like to have, we need people, some new ideas, new way. It's not normal that it's still now more than
And so long.
Still the same people. That's not what we wanted.
Okay. So just to drag us quickly back to the missing infrastructure, I think that's something we might want from our side, if it's at least possible, according to the ESF, access to knowing who's in each hub, our EPEC coordinator. That'd be really useful.
So when you say hub, you mean
which
hub committee or the full hub?
The full hub. So, AKA who's in front. Well, but yeah, membership of hubs is slightly different. So who's in the hub? Who's a member of the hub?
Who has ticked the box saying I'm interested in the French hub?
Yeah.
It's not necessary they're in it. They may be living outside it.
Yeah.
I will look up the modalities, how to make it happen, what are the rules to follow.
Okay.
But I mean, from a purely technical point of view, easily done.
Okay, great.
From a legal point of view, maybe slightly tricky.
If Sean Davey tells me he can do it, I'm sure he can.
You can do it technically. Technically.
Yeah, technical side.
We can do it right now.
I need to check like the
They're filming.
I'm being very careful with that. Technically, easy though.
Okay.
I need to look at the legalities, everything as that to make it happen, and the modalities to follow the rules. But from a pure technical point of view, it can be done.
Okay, great. Is there anything else anyone can think of for our digital wish list for ESF while they're here? We have a separate one for EPEC related stuff, by the way. I'll give it to you later.
I don't like the way you're putting this.
It's 3 pieces of paper instead of one. Sorry.
I would just say if someone is going to be like the dedicated person to manage the hubs sections from EPEC, I can deliver training. If you've never worked with WordPress before, it's fine. It doesn't take too long. We can have an online training session. I can show you what's expected of you and how to do it. So it won't take up a huge amount of your time. You'll be talking small edits every month or so. It wouldn't be a huge problem. So we can do this with no issue.
Thanks, Connie. Okay. Another thing I think I might just quickly mention is one thing we've noticed with EPEC members is that there isn't an onboarding process for them. So this is not about chairs or committees or whatever, because we know those have issues with passing over. But in general, when people become EPEC members, there's not a proper onboarding procedure. There's not even a list of, there's not a mission statement of EPEC at the moment. There's not a mission statement of the hub, of the working groups. There's not a mission statement of, or there's not even a set of instructions as to who your point of contact is or anything. So one thing we've identified clearly that we need to do is work on onboarding for EPEC members. So not people in roles of responsibility, but for just members. And again, our hope is that once we get a functional community, then roles will start to be created or filled by people in the community who want positions of responsibility. I don't know if this is anything that's focused on in the hub. So for example, if I tick a box that says, I want to be in the Central Europe hub, do I get, and this is a question I genuinely don't know the answer, do I get a new, like a little welcome to the Central Europe hub? This is what we do, which I admit the list is reasonably small at the moment, but this is what we do. This is what you can do. This is, for example, how we communicate. If we say that this is now how the hubs work with EPEC, with this coordination thing, can that be sent to people maybe? Just some form of onboarding.
One option is, and I know actually bring up Discord, I can set it up so that each hub has their own Discord channel, and then there's a robot that messages everybody to say, this is like, welcome to the Central Europe hub, this is what we're doing, this is your point of contact. Like, that's easy to do on Discord. Mm-hmm. There's no system set up like that on an email basis at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we can put that in place.
Okay, that would be nice. So so if I join the Discord server, will the bot know which hub I'm in already, or do I have to tell it?
You will, in theory, you're going to have to select which channels you're going to be part of, and then the bots will.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay. No, that would be nice, actually.
You're not going to be added into every channel that exists, and you won't be, it's very selective. So you don't have to enter other things you don't want to.
Is it very easy for me to change that after I've made the first selection?
To add additional ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And just as a quick technical point, I guess we have two databases then. Discord has a copy of who's in which hub, and then the Civi CRM has a copy of who's in which hub. I don't know if there's a way to make sure those are synced, because I can imagine. Okay, I just to put my foresee. Okay.
My best.
Okay. It just is something I can already see. For example, the young people may move around a little bit, or they want to tune into communications from one or another. For example, if I even can picture myself when I open the Discord, I'm going to be a bit more ambitious as to which channels I'm into, because I want to know what's going on in them, like to try them out kind of. And then maybe if some of them are too much, I'll turn them off afterwards, just as a heads up of me as a user, for example.
That's what I do.
You can do that.
Okay.
Since we're on Discord, is it going to be the form that is deactivated on this Discord?
Like something we should. I've discovered it actually. I've been using Discord for, and then only really recently discovered the forum function. So that's something we might need to.
Because we've been using, we use Discord as a totally private way, as an association, kind of an association, incidentally. And the forum thing has really saved our lives in terms of organising events, for example. So okay. It stops a massive traffic across all the channels, basically.
Any function that you think would be helpful.
I think that would be super helpful. By the way, that's what I just thought of, since we're not on electronics.
No, that's good. Any other electronic wants in the digital infrastructure? Anything we all want? Okay. We've only got a few minutes left, so is there anything anyone wants to say to the room? We've got hubs, we've got EPEC here, we've got the ESF. Is there anything anyone wants to raise?
Yes.
Yes.
So you know that the executive board will be restructured. There will be elections. Please, as EPEC, submit yourself. Be a candidate. So it doesn't mean that it's executive board, that it's all only senior scientists who needs to be there. We need young people who are this. Please be candidate. Don't be shy.
So even in the executive board, EPEC people are also.
There is
Yes.
something I didn't really get. How to be an EPEC member? Like, do you register for Europlanet and then you're an EPEC, or
You tick the box at the bottom when you register as a member. There's like a list of, oh, you want to be a member of this, then there's a tick box for EPEC.
Okay.
If you want to change that
If you want to change-
afterwards,
You can search extremely easily.
Yeah, on the
like two
website,
clicks.
okay.
So you go to this, your account, subscriptions, where you would have probably in the first place, then untick, tick, with 1 prefer. That's
okay.
very straightforward.
And if the 8 years are over, then you have to.
You have to go in and untick.
Or
Yeah, maybe.
if you become mid-career scientist, then like you have to tick out that box, or
No. You
or
can
is
still
that-
be interested in EPEC.
You are allowed to.
You're allowed to be interested. I don't think there's any way they're going to decide whether you're eligible.
yeah, I don't think so, right?
We're not,
Maybe, you
we're
know,
not
no-
monitoring it.
Okay.
We could implement it.
Maybe
where you
it's
get a
useful.
big red email. You could go.
We're too old. How does it frame?
No, we can't discriminate based on age, just on career stage.
Yes.
Just to bring you in line with European legislation on that.
Okay. Is that everything?
Thank you very much.
Okay, well,
for
thanks, everyone.
chairing and organising.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Well, it's nice to meet some of the hubs. I wasn't sure if any of you would show up, so I'm really glad to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And can I ask the Central Europe Hub people to come here for obligatory volunteering? So that's